Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of Our Times. This is a show where we discuss the stories that move us, what makes them so meaningful, and why others could or should find meaning in them as well. This is not a spoiler-free show, so bear that in mind as you continue to listen. We tackle movies, books, comics, and more. Where there's a story, there's a reason to read. I'm your host, Amanda Stevens, and joining me today are several special guests. For the end of December, I collaborated together with the Canadian Independent Micro School to talk about some of the stories they were reading for class that affected them the most. Today, we'll be hearing from two student groups discussing books about family, immigration, and how one can make a future for themselves or their children, even when the odds feel stacked against them. The first book that we'll be hearing about is the 2017 novel Pachinko by Min Jin Lee, explained to us by Michelle, Rita, and Daniel. And the second book that we'll be discussing is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn from 1943 by Betty Smith, kindly explained to us by Jenna, Felicia, and Peony. Each student group will present to us in a similar manner to our regular show format. You'll just be able to hear about two separate books. Each group has quite a lot to say, so let's just get into it. Okay, welcome to Radio Taiwan International. Can you guys please introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Rita. I'm in 10th grade.
Hello, I'm Michelle. I'm in 9th grade.
Hello, I'm Daniel and I'm 11th grade.
Okay, awesome. And so can you guys tell us what book did you choose today and what makes it special?
The book that we choose today is called Pachinko. And this book is interesting because it really shows that tiny decisions can change 4 generations of a Korean family living in Japan.
So then, can you please give me a summary of what happens in Pachinko?
So Pachinko is talking about a Korean family over 4 generations. It began in the early 1900s in a small fishing village in Korea. At this time, Korea is under Japanese rule, and many Korean families live in poverty. The story centers on a girl named Sunja. She grows up helping her mother run a small boarding house. Even though they are poor, Sunja is loved, and she learns to be strong and hardworking.
And so what is the small decision that makes a big difference for everybody?
Yeah, so it started from when Sunja was a teenager, and he met this wealthy businessman called Hansu, and he seems very caring, protecting Sunja from danger. And in Sunja's family, she only has a mother, so she has never experienced how a father would love her, so she fell in love. And later on, Sunja became pregnant. However, Sunja was still a teenager during this time. And in the period of this Korean and Japanese war, people were more conservative for how women are and how families should be like. So when Sunja got pregnant and was with this middle-aged businessman and her mother found out, it really changed the family's plan later on. So at the end, Sunja has become a grandmother and she had already had children, and children are married. However, because they faced discrimination from Japanese, one of Sunja's child was really sad being a Korean living in Japan. So this child suicided. However, life continues on inside this small family. Like, little things happen, and that kind of changes the whole shift of how the family lives on.
Mm-hmm. So can I ask each one of you, how does the ending feel?
The end of the book, it makes me feel quite sad, and the story also made me think about the idea of belonging. And even after many years in Japan, the family is still treated as outsiders simply because they are Korean.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me that identity is not only about where you live, but also about how people see you and how you see yourself. This book shows that belonging is complicated, and sometimes people have to fight to claim their place in the world. I think the book is both heartbreaking and inspiring because it shows the pain of discrimination, but also the strength of hope.
Yeah. And Michelle?
After finishing this book, I felt like relief because it's this young girl who has been growing up since a teenager until she's a grandma, and like all these things that she has been through, and the discrimination and her marriage and her love life. As I was reading, I felt more heavier and heavier as it goes on because like these small things really change her a lot. So for me, I felt that it was a relief. Yeah.
To finish the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. And Rita?
I think this book is actually quite heavy, I would say, because it's like talking about how each generation dealt with identity in a different way. Like Shinja, she wants to survive, and his son Noah wants to be accepted. And Noah's brother Mozasu wants to be successful, and Mozasu's son Solomon, he wants freedom. Their dreams are different, but they all feel the pressure of being Korean in Japan. And I think this book also shows how people can feel trapped between cultures. The book made me realize how hard it is for people who grow up in a place where they are always seen as foreign. It made me feel empathy and helped me understand the emotion weight that comes with being treated as an outsider.
Yeah. Wow, it sounds like you guys picked a very heavy book. So this is how the book made you feel. This is why the book was important to you three, right? What do you think this book could mean for other people?
I think it could be meaningful for all the readers because Pachinko reminds us that even when life is unfair, hope can still travel from one generation past to the other generations, never giving up, and the spirit of the previous generation that pass on to the newer generation.
Yeah, I think it could be meaningful to anyone because this book talks about a lot of the history of how no matter what family should look like or what woman behavior should be like and what a perfect marriage would be like, or how people discriminated on Sunja because she was a woman and she was pregnant at such a young age. It would relate to everyone a lot because to understand how our society has changed that much from very conservative when women didn't have any power to speak up for what they want into this society today that has freedom and women could choose what they want.
I agree Daniel and Michelle's point because I think in this book talking about lots of different issues. Overall, I think this book teach me like you just be yourself and love yourself.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys really got a lot out of this book. So the last thing that I will ask you then, if you could give Pachinko a one-phrase tagline, what would that be?
One decision changed 4 generations of a Korean family living in Japan.
Did you guys have any last things that you would say about this book?
To be adding on a reminder for this book, I would think that it's better for above teenager to read because this book contains suicide and the discrimination of getting accepted in the society. So it's quite heavy in this book, but it is actually meaningful for us, all the readers, to read because it's very deep that we can gain a lot and understand about the discrimination and women's rights and who do you belongs into the country. It's a very good book.
Hello and welcome to Radio Taiwan International. Can you please introduce yourselves?
Hello, my name is Jenna. I'm in 10th grade. I'm 16 years old, and usually I really love to read books, particularly about historical fiction. Recently we finished the book Nothing to Envy, and those kinds of books really interest me, yeah.
Hello, my name is Felicia, and I'm 14 years old. I really enjoy reading books about fantasy, for example, Percy Jackson and Harry Potter.
Hello everyone, my name is Peony and I'm 15 years old. In my free time, I like to read novels about friends and families, which is quite different from Felicia's as well.
Oh, nice. And so what book did you guys bring for us to talk about today? And is there anything that you think is important to know about it?
Today we'll be talking about the book A Tree Grows in Brooklyn.
A Tree Grows in Brooklyn is a book about a family who's struggling to survive in New York, Brooklyn.
Yeah. So they're living in poverty. It takes place in the summer of 1912. So it starts off by introducing a tree called the Tree of Heaven. And it's special because it's growing through concrete. Through these very small, cramped apartments, it's still thriving.
Okay, well, I have never heard of this book before, but it sounds really interesting. So can you three give me a summary of A Tree Grows in Brooklyn?
So the main character is Francie Nolan, and she's an 11-year-old girl when the book starts, and it kind of goes through her life, and from when she's a child to when she goes to college. It's a very, very long book, so me and my 3 classmates will just give the basic summary of it. 11-year-old Francie Nolan and her little brother Neely are going to work every day. They don't go to school because they don't have enough money as a family. Every day they kind of pick up trash and then they go to this recycling place where they can earn a little bit of money from that. They do this to support their very hardworking mother because their father, Johnny, is a very irresponsible man.
So the second chapter flashback to the time when Kate and Johnny first met. Johnny was the boyfriend of Katie's friend. However, eventually, after dancing with Kate, the two of them decided that they are both the person that they think are the right choice to spend a life together. So then, in only 6 months, they fall in love and get married. However, there's a lot of difficulties they faced after marriage. For example, Katie, she was pregnant, and because of the pregnancy, only Johnny can be working as a janitor in the school.
So after Katie and Johnny, they gave birth to Francie, who's a daughter, and they were quite struggling with education. So Grandma Romilly, who is Katie's mom, she suggested to Katie that the most important things that you have to possess in your life is education. So Katie listened to her suggestion, and basically from the library she borrowed Shakespeare and the Bible, which are the most 2 important items that Grandma Romilly mentioned. So then every night after they've done all the hard works, Katie would just read with Francie and let her develop this habit of reading, and that's how their destiny began to change.
Yeah, so to summarize, since it's a very long book again, she goes through this process of gaining her education. Although she has many struggles, she struggles with bullies and oppression in her school from like her gender and her family situation. However, because of her hard work and her mother's support and her own determination despite their family struggles, the book ends with Francie actually preparing to go to college in the University of Michigan.
Wow. So you are really kind of watching her whole life through this book. That's probably why it's so long, right? So it sounds like you really get to know her very well. What made the book so special for each of you?
I think personally, I really, really enjoyed this book. I read this a while ago, maybe 2 to 3 years ago. That's when I kind of started getting into the habit of reading, and at that time I really didn't know why I was like maybe doing homework. I don't know why I feel motivated in school, but then reading this book and learning about a child and a family who really struggled and has a very different life than I do, it kind of made me appreciate what I have and appreciate learning and the power of like education and reading as a whole through this book. Yeah.
Adding on to Jenna's point, I think it's very important for any one of us to actually acknowledge the fact that there's people with limited resources who are really trying to gain education that we treat it as something normal. Like it's a book that are suitable for any age group to read.
I think this book is very interesting and very meaningful for people at different ages because they can be inspired. For example, in the novel it mentioned the power of maternity. For example, even though Katie fell in love with Johnny, who's quite irresponsible, who just went out and get drunk every day, but Katie has the motivation to successfully raise up her kids, and no matter what kind of difficulties they face. So then, I think this novel really inspires us and really encourage all the women in the world that they're not alone and people are always supporting them.
And so is that why you think that book could be special for other people as well, not just you?
One aspect of this book that really, really made it memorable for me, this was one of my favorite books a couple years ago. I think at that time, Taiwan was kind of struggling with the Me Too movement, and there was a lot of sexual assault cases and harassment issues in Taiwan. And one very key moment in this story is coming of age, and Francine Nolan had unfortunately experienced a sexual assault encounter when she first got her job. And it was such a intense moment in the book that as young readers kind of really hit you in the face. And I think this really connected with a lot of the issues we read about in the news in Taiwan, and kind of gave a really close experience that we really learn about through this book. So I think it's a book that can connect with people who have struggled with the same issues, and also in learning about just this issue as a whole for everyone. Yeah.
In the book, the author actually mentioned a lot about how the woman during that time period was mistreated by the society. For example, a lot of people, after hearing Francie's dream about attending college, they often laugh at her for her identity of being woman. They consider women less capable of men, and they don't really think that women have the capability to actually attend school and to study with men. In Francie's work, she also acknowledged the fact that men who are in lower position compared to her received a lot more salary compared to her, because the society also consider women doing less capable job as men.
Yeah, so I think adding on to Felicia's point, I think A Tree Grows in Brooklyn can actually inspire people in different phenomenons. For example, possibly it can inspire people how education is so important that even though probably you cannot afford for going to school, but then at least you have to have the motivation of reading and have the motivation to like learn and just getting used to the habit of reading novels, because they can always inspire you, and there are always some lessons that are at the back that can support your life as well.
Yeah. So then the last thing that I will ask you guys is, do you have a one-phrase subtitle for the book?
Yeah, we do.
Empowerment through education.
Okay. And is there any like last little thing that you want to add about the book that you haven't said yet?
I feel like through our summary, it's definitely not enough to capture the essence of this book and how deeply it's written, how well written it is. I think there's so many more themes and deeper messages that are written in this book that we didn't get a chance to talk about today. So I would really recommend people who are listening to actually read this book on your own.
Excellent. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today. Thank you for joining us here on Radio Taiwan International. This has been Tales of Our Time. I'm your host, Amanda Stevens, with special guests Michelle, Rita, Daniel, Jenna, Felicia, and Peony from the Canadian Independent Micro School. Special thanks to teachers Kat Treitz and Liam Fanning for helping the students prepare. Today we discussed the books Pachinko and A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Join us next week to hear even more student groups discussing Tales of Our Time. We'll see you next time.
Hello from Radio Taiwan International. Check out our Google Podcasts. Search Taiwan Collective and Taiwan Voices for a collection of shows where we cover topics from serious to silly. And also visit us on the website at en.rti.org.tw and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. See you later.